Two more minutes, sir. Vamanji.
Yeah.
2 more minutes.
Rakesh.
Yes, Vamanji, you are ready, right?
Yeah, ready.
Yes. So let's go mute. It's only 3.
Rakesh,
Yes.
check your personal window, check your personal message.
Sure. Okay, Siddiq sir, it's done.
Okay, thank you. All the best, studies, sir.
Thank you.
So we are meeting everyone.
Pramod.
Rakesh,
Yes.
is the chat box open right from the start?
Yes. Right now it's open. We'll close during the introduction.
I see the JCA president has joined. So, Mr. President, JCA president has just joined. He's on the window. Please take note of it, Mr. President.
Okay. Sir?
Vamanji, JCA president has joined into. He's on the part of a panelist now.
Oh, great.
Yes,
Rakesh.
welcome JCA President Itaya Maniare. I'm JC Anish Matthew, the National President of JCA India. We welcome to our webinar training series, the last training series of the last training of the series webinar, which is going to be conducted for the last 10 days. It was going to be a great success. During this lockdown period, we all are engaged with the panelists, from the senior to junior, all are enjoying like this. And after this, we are streaming this on the Facebook or as well as in YouTube also. So the reach is more than 10,000 in the count.
Wow.
So it's a very good and privileged you to have us in this board today. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me here. I'm very excited to connect with everyone here. Good to see some familiar faces here. Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir.
Okay, NP sir. Yeah.
Vamanji, clean. Yeah.
Good evening, JCA India, and we are at the final webinar of the webinar series of JCA India. Without further ado, let's start the program, and I request past National President and an ACE trainer, JCI Senator Vaman Kumar sir, to please welcome and to introduce the faculty of the day. Over to Vaman sir. Vaman sir, please unmute yourself. We can, yeah.
Already unmuted. You only muted it. Good evening, JC India. What a rich culmination today evening. We are going to have the last of the first phase of the series of webinars that JC India conducted during these periods of lockdown, the whole country lockdown, and we started our journey on 1st of April 2020. To me, to all the panelists and every speaker, it has been a life-changing experience, a wonderful learning and wonderful training, interacting with 1,000 people virtually online and more than 10,000 people watching the presentations live on Facebook and YouTube. What else gives us more pleasure and happiness than having the noble, gracious, glittering presence of the charismatic JCA leader, JCA President Itaya Maniare in this final program. On behalf of the entire JCI members of JCA India, on behalf of the entire panelists, on behalf of the National Governing Board, on behalf of the national president, I extend a very cordial and warm welcome to JCI President, JCI Itai Minority Program. Welcome you, sir, to the final session of the webinar series of JCI India. It has been the brainchild of the national president, a very soft-spoken gentleman, a leader who has proved his mettle and caliber during the last 1 decade or 10 years, who rose into the national presidentship as an appreciation, recognition to his sheer commitment and dedication to this organization. I'm so happy to say that he is from my state, though no regional sentiments. I'm happy to say that he is from my state, Kerala. I welcome the architect of the whole program, the person who never missed even the last 17 out of the 17. He didn't miss even one single program. Welcome our worthy leader, National President Anish Matthew, to this program. Welcome you, NP. We have the leader of our JC India family, a gentleman who has been the JC India Foundation Director for a long tenure for last around 10 years. A person who is actually guiding us, motivating us, inspiring us, correcting us, and leading us from the front. The family head of JC India Foundation Chairman, Senator K. Vallabh Das, the National President of 1974. Vallabhji, I welcome you to this program. The face of JC India in international community, my National President of 1999 when I was his own president, a person who really leads us through his timely advice and very clear guidance. The chairman of the JC India Administrative Committee, one of the most successful national presidents we ever had, Senator S. Ravi Shankar, a very well-known leading arbitration lawyer of India. I welcome you, Mr. Ravi Shankar, to this program. I welcome the National Director Training, a gentleman who has left no stone unturned to promote this event through all the possible sources, a very hardworking officer, National Director Training, JCI Phil Fexele Patron Siddiq. I welcome our worthy Secretary General of our national headquarters, Mr. Benedict, and all national headquarters staff. I welcome the technical consultant without whose help behind the screen this program would not have been a successful affair, Mr. JCI Senator Ragesh Nair, who is fortunately the president of JCI Calicut, one of the senior most LOMs in Kerala also. Welcome, Ragesh. We have very eminent illuminating members in the faculty panel. I don't want to mention all the names of that 17, 18, including me. I welcome all the panelists, which is mixed with the past national presidents and past executive vice presidents and past zone presidents from various zones. I welcome all the panelists. It gives me unfathomable pleasure to welcome all the participants of this training program who were with us, who were totally making us engage with their very brilliant and intellectual questions during the Q&A session and the entire participants of this webinar series. I welcome all of you, the JCI India. Now coming to my duty of introducing a gentleman. It is a great privilege to me because this gentleman was my immediate past national president when I was the national president in 2003. He is a graduate in science and law, and he is a qualified JCI trainer from JCI Training St. Louis, and he is, of course, a graduate trainer from Rotary Leadership Institute. He leads and heads an organization named Step Ahead, and that organization is giving HR, law, system, business consultancy to many organizations span the globe in various continents or more than 50 countries in the world. His philosophy in life is to train people, motivate them, and inspire the team of people to help them to create new benchmarks. He was the national president in 2002, as I told you, with the slogan and the theme, Step Ahead. 3 years he served JCI under various capacities as the IT Commission Chairman of Junior Chamber International, as the JCI Vice President in 2004, and JCI Treasurer also. In 2004, when he was the JCI Vice President, he was adjudged as the outstanding Vice President of JCI. He has served Rotary District 3202 under the capacity of District Director also. He is a life member of Indian Society for Training and Development. He was an advisor of Institute of Environment and Nanotechnology Center of Excellence. He is the Joint Secretary of Delhi-based Swadeshi Science Movement of India. He is a national trainer of JC India and the head trainer of various JC events like Events like JCI Designer, JCI Trainer, JCI Chief, JCI Lead, and JCI Head Trainer. He is also a faculty for, he was a faculty for JCI Prime, a head trainer for JCI Prime too. He has piloted the most prestigious JCI India training events like JCI Author, JCI India Author, Nalanta, National Officers Training Seminar, Officers Training Seminar, and many number of presidential academies. This gentleman is a specialist in outbound training and team building exercises, and he is a chief instructor of eco leadership training, that is trekking. He is having 24 years of training experience in which he has trained so many companies, multinationals, small scale and medium industries, and many voluntary organizations like Lions Club International, Rotary International, and many other voluntary social organizations. During the last 24 years of his training career, he has trained more than 1 lakh adults and 3 lakhs youths, helping them to improve in their lives. He is a good author, an author of various manuals, and he's an author. He has authored the Financial Manual of JCI India. He has authored the National Executive Office Manual called Sustainable Shock. He has authored Presidential Manual like Travel of a President, and he has authored, I can say he has authored the manual for CAPP as well as Crusade of JCI India. Friends, he was one among the founder of JCI Designer Program and the founder of the JCI Author developed by JCI India, and he was the first pilot head coach for the JCI Author. He was a panel speaker invited by ISTD, Indian Society for Development, Training and Development, in 2010 during their national convention in Bangalore. He was a speaker for youth empowerment for the World CSR Conclave held in Mumbai, Congress held in Mumbai in 2016, and he delivered Aryabhatta Memorial Lecture to a group of scientists under the aegis of CSIR in 2017. My dear friends, he has also attended JCI UN Summit during the year 2004. I have great pleasure and privilege to introduce my immediate past national president and one of the ace trainers of JCI India, who is going to take you the realms of the unfold and unrevealed paths and secrets of how to being a human. Presenting before you, ladies and gentlemen, the past national president of JCI India, Senator V. Harish Kumar. And Harish, the floor is yours. Kindly take off.
Hi, everybody. Before I start, let me share the screen.
It is visible, Harish.
Is it visible?
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. Fine. Mr. World President, it's a delight to have you amongst us, and Mr. National President, co-panelist, past National President, and the mentors of JCI India, PNP Vallabhdas and PNP Ravi Shankar. Hundreds of JCs across the country, as well as the guest. Thank you for being here. I am here to share on the topic being human with a lot of concern as well as hope. The concern because the kind of a situation that what we are living in, the kind of a situation that what is going to happen, and the kind of a situation that how we are going to cope up with that, the very existence of the human race being in question, it gives naturally concern. But at the same time, the same human being bestowed by one significant quality called leadership, a kind of divinity inside them, we can also sustain some kind of a semblance of hope for this human race. I hope the chat box is open. Rakesh, please guide me. I would like to ask a question. Is there anything called human behavior?
Chat box is open.
Yeah. Is there anything called human behavior? Well, there is a format called animal behavior, which is comprising of all the living creatures like animals, plants, and insects. And we are also aware of the fact that there is behavior called divine behavior. But there is no such thing called human behavior as such, because the reason the humans self-certified themselves that they are the highest form of animals. So when there is an animal behavior and when there is a divine behavior and the human themselves self-certified that they are the highest form of animals, where is the question of human behavior? So either there is animal behavior or divine behavior. On that premise, what COVID-19 has really taught the human beings, it is that the human beings have 99% of animal behavior and definitely 1% of divine behavior. The COVID-19 virus, a small microbe, taught us the human that you are right. The purpose of this seminar then will be to find the behavior called human behavior. It need not be the bridge between the animal behavior and the divine behavior, but it can be a significant dimension apart from the two behaviors of animals and divinity. If I start with on the presumption that human behavior is there, what exactly human beings are doing for so long, centuries old? So many human beings have taken birth and died. So many human beings have lived their lives and then died. So many human beings have experienced so many things in different ways and died. But ultimately, even centuries back till date, all the human beings were able to take some kind of a decision, either for their welfare or for others' welfare. And many a decision which they consider themselves as firm decisions were literally taken by weak emotions. And that is one reason why the human race, for centuries together, still want to search one significant aspect called world peace. Why world peace is absent? Despite being a human being, considering themselves as they were some kind of an intellect, considering themselves that they were of some kind of a superior form of animal race, considering themselves that they have understood some kind of a divinity, and when they were able to take so many decisions and many firm decisions, that is everlasting decisions, but still very, very few decisions what the human beings have taken had remained forever, and all the other decisions, say 99%, just frittered out. The reason, even those kind of firm decisions which were temporarily alive were affected because those decisions were taken by weak emotions. So in this kind of a situation, and when the entire human race significantly crisscrossing the continents of the world in almost 150 plus countries, when they were challenged by one small microbe, how exactly this human race can take a decision to lead their human life peacefully? That question, I just wanted to find out an answer through this session. How? We clean dirt in the body, we clean dirt at home, we clean dirt at office, we clean dirt at town. What's the other dirt that we need to clean as a human being? Can anybody say it through the chat? Rakesh, I am not able to see the chat box.
Shall I read the answer for you, sir?
Yes.
Most of the answers are mind, dirt in mind,
Okay.
soul,
Okay.
thought, ourselves.
Okay. Please give the certificate to the person who said soul.
Yeah, it's
All right.
JC. Yep.
Fine. Now, the dirt at the body can be cleaned by somebody else. The dirt at home can be cleaned by somebody else. The dirt at office can be cleaned by somebody else. The dirt in the town can also be cleaned by somebody else. But the dirt in their own soul can be cleaned by only one person, one individual, that is ourselves. No other person can come and clean our dirt of a soul. In that kind of a situation, how human beings tend to behave, it goes like this. They turn their mind blind and still struggle to use their eyes to see what exactly the reality is. Now, this is really amazing to see. The mind goes off, but the eyes searching. But there is no use of the eyes, even if it is alive, kicking, seeing everything, even trying to understand. But if the mind is locked or if the mind is blind, and what a paradox, the mind is blind and the eyes are open, it's useless. In that kind of a situation, how we will be able to clean our soul? I would like to take some significant aspects of the human tendencies. I say it human because the humans themselves have claimed it as human. Where exactly we can start with in cleaning up the soul? The human life understanding we need to understand. Now, the human life, which is only for a significant period, say a particular period, the maximum, to my knowledge, a human being has lived is not more than 120 years. In that short period of life, the human life, to live as a human being, it is not a problem to solve. If it is a problem to solve, we can see that there are so many issues in common parlance, which is called as problems, is continuing hundreds of years. Say theft, rape, robbery, dacoity, whatnot. And why it is still existing after hundreds of years? Because the human beings were still struggling to understand what exactly human life is, because they treat those things as a problem or an issue and are struggling to solve. But the result is before us, the centuries old issues are still alive. Then what exactly human life means then? How to understand the human life? Well, I will say the human life is a mystery to solve. And when I call it as mystery, and when we try as a human being to solve the situations of the human life, I think the essential element or an ingredient an individual human being can have is to solve this mystery of human life requires leadership. And what exactly that leadership means? This is one term which has been thoroughly misunderstood by the human beings throughout the world, irrespective of the different backgrounds of the human beings are. And when it is thoroughly misunderstood, we need to strive, especially in this challenging time when the very existence of human race is in question, how exactly we can find the exact or a proper meaning for the term leadership. Well, the entire human life is a battle between vicious forces and the virtual forces. Vicious forces, very, very rude, very strong, very powerful. Virtual forces, very soft, unseen, and we never able to underestimate them. But the continuation of the battle between these vicious forces and the virtual forces lead us to a situation where a human being is able to live a human life despite all the odds around them. And when they are struggling to come out of this battle, they fail to solve the mystery what exactly human life is, because they don't have time to do that. And when we want to find the time, and when we empower ourselves as a human being to solve the mystery, we require that element called leadership. And again, that term leadership is misunderstood. In this kind of a vortex, how a human can understand human life is the big challenge. Now, taking the help of the solar system, the humanity quotients, if we tell, in the mythological era, a Surya, which is denoted as sun, is the intellect, is the power giver. The manas, the various forms of celestial bodies, literally acts as some kind of a catalyst where the power of the sun is being transferred to Chandra, the moon, and the moon derives that power. So here, the sun delivers the power and the moon derives the power. And the entire human race derives the power from the moon rather than the sun, which basically is understood that the human element derives power from the sun. The sun never directly gives power to the human race. The reason, if we derive the power from the sun, it will burn us. We will not be able to sustain as a human being. So when we derive power from the moon, which itself has derived power from the sun, and what exactly we derive from the moon is the five senses: vision, smell, hearing, taste, and touch. But we call ourselves that we are having six senses. Well, the five senses have been answered. Then what exactly that sixth sense means? That sixth sense is the intellect. And that intellect, Chandra doesn't have directly. The moon doesn't have directly. It's only the sun which possesses it. Now, this describes the functions of the human mind. When the vision can be controlled by the humanity, the smell can be controlled by the humanity, the hearing can be controlled by the humanity, the taste and touch can be controlled by the humanity, but the intellect to control it is a big challenge. The Panchedriyas, what we call in the mythological terms, can the humanity never control intellect, but at the same time, the humanity can derive intellect and use for their welfare. It is possible. How it is possible? Now we tend to live our human life with a propaganda. There were so many proverbs around us. The proverbs were created for a specific purpose to guide the human race so that the human doesn't distort themselves in leading a decent human life. And there are so many problems which were literally served as a lighthouse for so many people on so many issues. But what the human propaganda, why I term propaganda here is, of late, say around 2 to 3 decades on, the human being, after realizing with the help of the technology advancement, have literally engaged themselves in fooling so much on themselves that they literally went into a kind of a propaganda area where even the proverbs were used as an excuse to defend their actions. And even if the action is unlawful, now there lies the danger. And any unlawful issue is being covered up by the help of a shield called a proverb, because human beings were tuned to know and understand a proverb as some kind of a sacrosanct statement. And when that proverb is misused as a shield to cover up an unlawful act, now that is the danger. And that danger the human beings are currently going through. Say, for an example, a very popular proverb, to err is human. Well, nobody can be perfect. There is no perfection in 100% terms. A human being is a emotional guy. A human being has feelings. A human being is controlled by some kind of an external situations. A human being has a compassionate aspect inside them. So error is obvious. So to err is human was discovered. Fine, agreed to an extent. When there are 10 wrongs committed by one single individual or a group of individuals of the same objective, and out of those 10 wrongs, if one wrong is identified and the other 9 are still to be identified as wrong, and out of those 10 actions, if one action is identified as error, we can easily use the proverb to err is human and then start to rectify that one particular erroneous action. But here what happens is, out of 10 actions, and if all the 10 actions are unlawful, and point by point or action by action, if every action is being shielded by this proverb called to err is human, I think it is meaningless. The proverbs of late have just gone degenerating because the misuse of the proverbs or interpreting the proverbs to defend and shield the unlawful actions in predominant way has led to a situation where the human propaganda is now a vicious exercise that many human beings, especially the persons who are assuming the leadership positions, are engaged in. Even the proverbs have degenerated into mere statements. Because when the leader uses this proverb as a shield to give an excuse for an unlawful or for an illegal action, people who follow the leader or their principles cannot be convinced of the same proverb, even if it is held in a high esteem, where the proverb is having the best of the intention how to explain things. And when the follower loses the confidence on the leader, and when they're not able to express them because of the little lack of intellect or other aspects, they don't have to necessarily lose the confidence in the leader, which will be by default, but they will lose the confidence in the proverbs themselves. And for them, the proverb is not a proverb, a mere statement. Is this human propaganda valid still? Question to be answered by the human race. And why the proverbs are being engaged upon? To defend some kind of a human behavior. There are umpteen number of actions which we call as human behavior. And when I say human behavior, please try to understand it is the human being behavior, not a compassionate behavior, that what I am trying to say. A human being behavior, if we say some kind of realities, some few realities, there are many realities. Say, for example, trust. Now, trust is one quotient where there are so many aspects that whether people to people, policy to policy, system to system, people to system, people to policy, relationships, so many aspects, one factor which acts as a bridge between these different factors is called as trust. The same trust, if it is abused, what will be the resultant factor? The same trust, if it is misplaced, what will be the consequence? The same trust, if it is ignored by one section, either the giver or the receiver, what will happen? The same trust, if it is believed, what can happen? The same trust, if it is practiced with sincerity, what will happen? So many different outcomes are there, but one single aspect called trust. Say politics. Now, politics is a kind of a human being behavior on so many aspects, either to improve the system or to improve a person who is involved in the system. or to improve the actions of the person who is involved in the system. Now, this term politics itself, I'm terming it as a term, not as a word. This term politics itself throws upon different dimensions, throws upon different interpretations, and throws upon understanding different meanings. But what exactly politics means? Politics has really become a disease in many an organization. And that disease, people are still trying to find a kind of a good vaccine for this disease. Now, we cannot get rid of the politics because it's not necessary. But at the same time, we need to cure the politics which ruin an organization, and through the organization, ruin the person or the individual. Now, when I say organization, it's the full group of people, say either family, society, the organization by itself, or a group or a community. Everywhere the politics is there. It is not necessary the politics or the political element is present only in the organization. It is also in the family. It is also in a group of people of common objectives or interest. It is also in the same community. So when the politics is prevalent, the fundamental or the grammar of politics is to leverage strength so that everybody benefits. Now, that is the singular aspect any leadership should ensure, because it is their bounden duty if they assume leadership position, leveraging of the strength or the weakness of a particular human being or the particular individual who belongs to various kinds of groups, either family, community, organization, and so on. But what happens? Instead of the leadership, instead of the political leadership, instead of leveraging the strengths and the weaknesses or the weaknesses of the particular individual elements, they try to find favoritism convenient to them as an individual, because a leader is also an individual. And when that favoritism steps in, the essential meaning or the significant aspect of the term politics just ruins. This is really a reality which hurts so many organizations and so many individuals. Say, for example, a dignified behavior of a human being. We can see it around us. There are some human beings who stoop to such a low level that it will be alarming to see them. Are these people able to do like this? We will be aghast to see that. We thought this person has so much talent, so much skill, so much intellect, but why this person's behavior is of such a lower order of stooping so low just for their self-service, sometimes even at the cost of others. That is really not dignified behavior. We can also see some people around us who tries to please everybody, a kind of artificial element. It is as if that when some kind of chemicals are added to preserve a product for a longer period of life, an artificial stunt I can call, just to please everybody, without any conviction inside them, without even having a desire to please everybody, they just tend to please everybody. Why? This is again a reality, again, and not a dignified behavior. We can see some people, some human beings cheating either before their eyes or behind their eyes. That is also not a dignified behavior. We can even see a kind of a human being where they falsify everything, even if a die-hard truth is being projected, maybe because of the power or because of the protection of power that those people have, they falsify even a true element and succeed. Even if they succeed, that behavior is not a dignified behavior. And these are striking realities. Moving on, we can say superlatives. Now, what are the superlatives? The degree of superlative on some terms I can share with you. Say, for example, best, super, excellent. Now, these wordings, which are of superlative degrees, best, super, excellent, and so on, we have seen many people, including the so-called leaders, misusing these superlatives. Now, a kind of a small self-check we can have, if we are an individual who use these superlatives degree as best, super, excellent, often, then I will tell with all conviction that it is the lowest form of human behavior. Any human being, whether they are leader or an ordinary individual, who uses these superlatives very rarely are having the highest form of human behavior. You know why? Can anybody answer? Rakesh, can you see the answers?
Yes, sir. We are waiting for the answers. Yet to get some. Empathetic behavior is the one answer. Self-projection, simplified concept in mind,
Projection, okay.
free from ego behavior, strong by heart, they don't please, best is yet to come. That's come from heart.
Now
Rationality.
again,
Yeah.
I think enough, Rakesh. I think the human behavior here is unidimensional, as the responses suggest. I will repeat what exactly that I have asked. Usage of the superlatives like best, super, and excellent often, many times, is the lowest form of human behavior, and using the same superlatives very rarely is the highest form of human behavior. The reason why is because why it is used very less and why it is called as the highest form of human behavior is because we cannot deceive our listeners. Now, a listener, when they hear the superlatives as best, super, and excellent, even for an ordinary act, if a communicator communicates this superlatives, the listener, even for an ordinary act, will tend to believe, oh, I have done marvelous thing. I have done something unique. I have done something great. But at the same time, the reality is different. And that person is really deceived. That human behavior is again not dignified. Values. Now, there are so many aspects with regard to values. Each individual human being is different. Fine. Each individual human being has different thinking. Fine. Each individual human being has different reactionary or response elements. Fine. But some of the values can be common. And when those values, which are common for human behavior, still people struggle or fight between themselves. Which value is predominant, which value is more prioritized, which value should be followed, and so on. Now, this is really becoming or making a human life more complex, especially when it is values based. Now, many leaders, for that matter, forget the very poor, ordinary individual human beings who tend to have some kind of a belief in a person who is called as leader and who really follows them. And many leaders here tend to use the same quotient of values to their self-serving ends. They try to even bend the values. Now, the value should be firm, straight. Value should be so much of conviction. Value should be of so much of truth. But if the same values, if they are not conviction enough, if they are not truthful enough, and if they are not really beneficial enough, there is no point in delivering those values to poor ordinary individuals who tend to have some kind of a trust over the leader. But here, what is happening? Predominantly around the world, in every dimension of the human living, when a person assumes the leadership position, tries to bend those values just to self-serve. Again, that human behavior reality is really striking us. Many people are judgmental. I am right, you're not right. I am not right, but you can be right. Well, who are we to judge? We don't have even a basic quality to judge others. Yes, we have every quality to judge ourselves, but we have still to develop to judge others. And that judgment of having a judgmental exercise on others can only happen when we transfer ourselves from this animal behavior to the divine behavior. And we are still to travel towards divine behavior. So we cannot judge others. Sheer madness. Now, when I say madness, it is not the kind of a, say, mind distortion. What I am seeing is on law. Law has been established so that the human behavior has some kind of a channel. A human behavior has some kind of a direction. A human behavior can follow on some kind of a track. That is where law were established. So many laws are there to govern the behavior of the human beings, human individuals. Now, what is happening, especially at the leadership level, since our organization believes in leadership, the leaders very, very convincingly, but at the same time, with a stark reality which affects so many people's human behavior, tend to just use those terminologies, say, rule of the law is different, spirit of the law is different. Now, law is only one. How can we have two interpretations called rule of a law and a spirit of a law? Well, even if I give the argument to those kind of leaders who argue that rule of law is different and the spirit of law is different, I will still try to say the human behavior needs to reform there in making those leaders understand that the rule of the law and the spirit of the law, even if they are different, they need to be aligned on one direction, on one dimension. If it is not aligned, there is no need of that law at all. Why should we have a lawless law? That's the question. Reality still strikes there. There is one more thing, which is just bordering on madness, is universality. Now, what is this universality is? Now, it depends upon different context. Say, for example, when I say animal behavior and divine behavior, and there is no transition element called human behavior, and when I say the highest form of animal behavior, which we term ourselves human behavior, wants to travel towards divine behavior, we need to understand and we need to accept, even if we like it or don't like it, that every individual human being is different. Every individual human being can have different purposes of their life. Every individual human being can have the different wants and needs. That is the question of universality there. Now, how a human being can put into one particular circle called universe. Now, that question remains to be answered. The reason every action of a human being is based upon some kind of a situation, or in technical way, we'll say context. And there is no necessity the context can remain the same. In that kind of a situation, universality is just another form of madness. Again, a reality which strikes the human behavior. Now, why even a small microbe can challenge the human race is because these realities are really itching, pricking, and really threatening the human race. And these are the things which is making that virus succeed. Hope as a human being, a responsible human being, we are able to understand this. Now, where are the human failures then? it's very funny to list it out. Say, value of truth. Many individuals, especially those who are in some kind of a power or who has some kind of an influence, they realize the value of the truth in different dimensions. Whereas the value of the truth can be defined, can be determined only on one dimension, that is our act, which is based on truth, should prevail. That's it, bottom line. But unfortunately, many individuals are twisting, deforming, and whatnot, significantly reducing the impact of one singular noble element called truth. The value of truth really gets distorted there. Name of development. Now, the human race, in the name of development, really encroached upon so many living creatures' space. And that's the reason why this world is facing so many challenges on climate, environment, so on and so forth. According to a scientific study, the entire global Earth, the land surface should consist of 33% of forest coverage, greenery. Only then it will allow all the different kind of living creatures along with the human being to have a sustainable livelihood in this planet Earth. And in the name of development, in terming themselves that they are the superior people amongst those animal kingdom, and with the help of the technology which is of a short-term use, have reduced the 33% of forest cover to mere 12%. And that's the reason why desertification, flooding, tsunamis, so on and so forth is happening around. Now, the human failure, a significant failure, is in the name of development, which is quite strange. Many individuals practice leadership as their profession. Well, one aspect, there are so many tenets of leadership, but one tenet or one aspect of leadership is to identify the second line and retire. But many areas, whether it is in family, organization, or community, or some groups, aligned groups, we can see some individuals who possess that leadership position are acting as a kind of a profession and not letting one kind of a tenet or one kind of a practice of leadership by itself not being allowed to be practiced, in not transferring to the second line. Now, if this is happening, then it's a biggest human failure, because that individual leader may succeed in influencing around with the power around with their lifetime. But after their lifetime, the very leader who control that organization, who control that family, who control that community, they will not be there to witness because they have died, but the entire organization, the entire family, or the entire community will collapse just for one aspect: second line leadership was not developed. So it's a funny element that even leadership is practiced as profession. There are so many people who still believe in atrocities, that if I tell something about this person to somebody else, if it is benefiting me, why not I do that? If I indulge in some kind of an action, and if it is unnoticed, and if I am profiting out of that, why should not I do that? Like that. As a human being, when we call ourselves that we are having full of emotions, feelings, and as a human being who also believes that there is significantly there are two elements called love and compassion, is it necessary to believe in these atrocities just for short-term gains? A big question. It is again funnier. Practice of diplomacy. Now, I will just summarize this the practice of diplomacy, why it is a big human failure, and it is again funny, is because they failed to create. Now, all the diplomats, when I say they, all the diplomats failed to create equitable wealth despite all the management mantras they possess. You will see, you will even revel in the some kind of a mantra they will say, 1 minute manager, this minute manager, 1%, 10%, 100%, this principle, that principle, all management mantras. But so long, so far, after the commercialization of the entire human race, they are still struggling to find equitable wealth for the human race. Now, I think the practice of diplomacy is also becoming some kind of a funnier element, a big failure. Human habits, why they are made necessary? Say sycophancy. Now, what is the dictionary meaning of sycophancy? It is to use flattery for self-service. I will support this with hypocrisy. The dictionary meaning is practicing one thing and preaching another thing. Now, these two elements, sycophancy and hypocrisy, are actually ruining so many human beings, so many individuals, that they are still not having a kind of a little hope, a glimmer of hope to continue their life. The number of suicides across the world, the number of diseases across the world, the number of old age homes across the world, the number of shelters across the world, the number of people struggling with hunger and poverty across the world is all because of the human habit, especially predominantly of these two elements called sycophancy and hypocrisy. When are we going to end these things? Why not we change this habit? A habit can always be changed, and it is a necessity these days. But why we are not able to do that? Again, a big question to be answered, a big question for the human race to understand and then put it in action. Now, why this sycophancy and the hypocrisy are happening? Because they win small battles. Any significant aspect, any significant action, any significant, say, kind of a situation where it will help them or it will benefit them, they win it. Fine. They win the battle but lose the war, because ultimately at the end they will be exposed. A human being, if they really want to live a human life decent and meaningful, has to change the habit of sycophancy and hypocrisy. I will say any human individual who practices these things, sycophancy or hypocrisy, are the weakest individual in the human race. If they are strong enough, if they are convincing enough for their own benefit or for their own struggle, even if you want to struggle by way of the habit of not practicing sycophancy or hypocrisy, you're welcome. You have the highest form of human nature inside. But again, let me put it, any person who practices sycophancy and hypocrisy is the weakest form of human person inside them. And those persons, one day, if necessity happens, can even be changing themselves or transforming themselves into some kind of a murderer or a heinous act that they can commit without any hesitation. This need to be changed. Why human beings clash between themselves? Why human beings fight between themselves? Why human beings have different understanding between themselves? I think it is because of the clash of comfort zones of those particular human beings. If as an individual or as a group, if our comfort zone is common, we tend to call it as friendship. We tend to call it as like-minded. We tend to call it as even race. But at the same time, if the comfort zones, even if it is different, that is fine. But if it is clashing, then we will say the terminologies like enemies, antisocial behavior, a kind of a terrorist, a kind of an unruly element, and so on and so forth. Now, this clash of comfort zones is again, to me, is a kind of a relative term, a relative phrase. The reason, one particular comfort zone can be okay for one particular set of people, whether it is single or group. But at the same time, the same comfort zone cannot be comfortable for another particular individual or a group of people. It applies vice versa. Now, the clash of comfort zones really is a big habitual happening in human race. Victimization. I would say the human race have degenerated in such a low form, and that's the reason why there are so many struggles across the world, especially with relate to women here. The victim is blamed, and that is the worst kind of human habit that one person can have. Why should a victim to be blamed? A victim is a victim who is already suffering. Now, there cannot be an investigation whether the victim was responsible for that action. Come on, the victim is a suffering person, and how can they be responsible for that action? This is really strange. We need to understand more on this. Faking aspect. Now, there are so many aspects, human habits. Here, there comes the one thing called faking. Now, of late, say for example, around say 10 years back, this term faking really got popularity. Now, what exactly faking means? To understand this term, I really had to struggle. I surveyed so many dictionaries, so many books, even Wikipedia and so on and so forth, but I was so many websites, but I was not convinced on this word called faking or the term called faking. Then I settled upon one incident that made me understand what exactly faking means. Maybe I can share that incident so that you can be able to understand what that faking means if it is still not understood well. I'll put this incident as like this. Say a popular example or a popular incident being quoted by so many different people around the world is Thomas Alva Edison found the bulb or discovered the bulb or invented the bulb. Fine. And if Thomas Alva Edison has not found the bulb, what would have happened to this earth? Now, this is a big hypothetical question. Here comes the word faking here. Here comes the meaning of faking. I will say, so what? If Thomas Alva Edison has not found the bulb, either we would have cultivated our human habits in living a human life without a bulb, or something would be in an alternative, different thing would have happened. That's it. Why to unnecessarily engage in faking, in telling that if Thomas Alva Edison has not found, what would have happened? Like that, if I am not there, what would have happened? If I am not involved, what would happen? It is mere faking exercise. These human habits, which is made of either compulsion or necessity, need to change. The human reactions. Now, reaction is a negative connotation and response is a positive connotation. I will share both. Arishad Vargas or 6 negatives, which were in Upanishads, centuries old scriptures and epics of the human race. The 6 negatives or the 6 reactions a human being displays or conveys are kamam, lust, krodham, anger, logam, greed or Mysore, moham, infatuation, madam, madness or lying, matsaryam, jealousy. Very interestingly, when I am quoting the centuries old scriptures, where even at that time, these 6 negative elements were present, please challenge ourselves. Are these 6 negatives still in existence? The answer will be yes. Then what do we say ourselves and how do we deceive ourselves that the human race is the highest form? The human race is a significant form. The human race is the intellectual form. The human race is the predominant form of all the living creatures on this earth. Come on, these 6 negatives, hundreds of years together, we were not able to either remove or turn into positives. And if it is still in existence, the human reaction is really ruling us. And that is the degeneration of a human life. Now, how, after realizing, okay, these many years, these were the things that we need to either remove or change, what can be our response? The flip side, the other side of the coin. Well, the lust can always be replaced with love. When I say love against lust, because lust is unidimensional, love is multidimensional. We can change anger into affection. Go for, walk a step extra. Then you will see or you will find an affection element. The greed or myself can be replaced by help, a kind of a serving mentality. Infatuation can be transformed into tolerance, even controlling ourselves and tolerating whatever the losses that we have. Madness or lying can be replaced by patience. If I lie now and I get the maximum benefit, fine, that is a negative thing. If I lie now, even if I get a maximum benefit, let me have patience. I will tell the truth and get the same benefit. That patience is a human response rather than a reaction. Jealousy can always be turned into empathy. Why not human beings mature for this aspect? Why not the human beings mature to practice these things? Why not human beings mature, not uttering these terminologies just by words, but by actions? Question remains. The human actions, it is possible to change, it is possible to alter. Say, experiencing jealousy, if an ordinary person, I am not here speaking about any leadership or leaders. If an ordinary person experiences jealousy, and if you are struggling to find answer, what we have to tell or what we have to do is face it. There is no escape route there. Just face the jealousy, handle them. You will see that the resultant factor will be good. If there is a trust deficit, if you blindly trust somebody, and if they really fool you around, if you blindly trust somebody and they really destroy you, if you blindly trust somebody, but still they don't oblige you, then what my action should be? My actions is just distance from them. If you are able to distance from them, that trust deficit can be compromised. If some persons deliberately lies, either for their advantage or to our disadvantage, how our action should be, we should assess them. For what reason? We should found their foundation for why they are doing these things. We will be better we will be in a position to understand better there. Some persons will have a sadistic cruelty. They derive happiness on some kind of a struggle or worry. How to find our action in facing them, tackle them. Even if it is a fight, fight it out. There is no need of any sycophancy or hypocrisy here. We need to straight head on head tackle them, because we cannot allow a sadistic human being present or living inside the human race. They can really destroy the entire human race. And that is what we are seeing in many aspects, in many organizations too, many groups too. Absolute greed. These are some few individuals, few percentage of people are practicing this. Just expose them. Power hungry. If the circumstances, if the people around them, were beneficial. In very common parlance, how the humans understand is if my stars are good, if my luck is good, and the power which has been derived either legally or illegally, but I'm able to control, and that power hungry person will not allow any other person, even if it is a legal action, to transfer the power or to shed the power. Now, in that kind of a situation, how as a pathetic single individual we can face this kind of a person is just challenge them. You challenge in a small way, you challenge in a big way, whatever it is, challenge them. Let the power hungry person realize how that hunger will make them suffer. And that's the only action a human can have good response for them. A perverted mind, a mind which is corrupt, or a mind which having absolute nonsense around it. Now, just avoid them. Don't get into their influence. If you really get closer to them, there is every element that we will also get exposed to perversion. Just avoid them. And at the last, if there is a person who is having this egoistic contempt, they just don't treat you as another human being. They will just treat you as some kind of a slave or some kind of a menial creature. If you are able to confront those kind of a person, what as a human being, my action should be, we have to just ignore them. That ignorance will make them to learn a lesson. In short, being human, where exactly we have to start? We have spoken about habits. We have spoken about the quotients. We have spoken about the entire human living grammar. We have spoken about so many different aspects. But still, we are still struggling to find some kind of an answer to live a life of a human being as a decent life. We are still trying to find or struggling to find an answer to live a life so that it is truthful. We are still struggling to find an answer to live a human life so that it can help not only ourselves but also others at the same time. We are still struggling to find an answer to live a human life decent enough. We are still struggling to find ourselves to live a human life healthier. We are still struggling to find to live a human life which can create really leading us towards divine behavior. How to do that? So many elements are there, so many points of intersections were there. Where to start, how to start, when to start, how long it should be, where it will lead us. So many different unanswered questions are just staring at the human being who really wants to transform this human race, their human life, the living of a human. Well, we have some mantras. Those mantras are: refrain from all evil actions to die with a smile. Now, there is a popular saying called begin with an end. Yes, we will borrow that sentiment of that saying, begin with an end. Just think about our death. At the time when we were about to die, say there is 1 minute left to die. In that 1 minute, what I will think. And that 1 minute, irrespective of the most notorious criminal a human being would have been, that 1 minute in the deathbed just before dying, even that person will think, I should not have done all these things. But it was too late. But here, when we are not in a position to die right now, nobody knows when we are going to die, but let us have an optimistic look. We are going to live longer, and when we are living longer, and when our death is at a far end, why not to start with bringing that element of humanity inside us, but refraining from all evil actions so that we can live a meaningful life. Walk the path of righteousness to live in peace. It is not necessary that the peace has to be transferred to other people, whether it is in family, organization, or groups or communities. It is also necessary to be at peace within themselves. Now, if we practice the same aspect called sycophancy, hypocrisy, stooping, pleasing, using superlatives, all the behaviors what we shared, it will never allow the inner peace to sustain. And if we really want to sustain that inner peace within ourselves, so that we become eligible to pass the peace to others, we need to walk the path of righteousness. In other words, our every action should be measured and judged by ourselves, whether it is right or proper. We need not be blind when the light of bliss diminishes. When the peace around us is disturbed, when the peace around us is distorted, we cannot turn a blind eye. Even in this COVID-19 situation, when I have my aged parents, when the clarion call of so many people were to stay at home, but being a proud member of two different organizations, especially JCI organization, where I started my social life, and elevating myself with a recognition called social scientist. Now, I cannot remain idle as a JCI member in this COVID-19 crisis situation of the human race. Despite all the warnings, despite all the excuses given around me, despite the exposure of COVID-19 on my parents themselves, still I volunteered to my city corporation as a COVID-19 warrior to fight the COVID-19 virus. Of course, being responsible in having all the safety precautions being taken, and was able to serve the humanity in this crisis situation. We need not be blind when there is peace being distorted around us. We as a proud JCI member have to come forth and serve the society despite whatever the harm that it can create on us. But if we are responsible, we can even stop the harm. We can be open. Love and compassion in every step ahead. Now, whether it is in action, which is physical, whether it is in thoughts, which is mental, whether it is in dream, which is unaccounted for, nobody is going to ask us how much you have dreamt. In every aspect of it, action or the mental thinking or the dreaming, in every aspect of it, in every dimension of it, these two elements, the love and compassion, should be predominant. Now, if we are able to ensure that, we will really be able to see that we really explain, or we really give the meaning for the term called human. Interestingly, the amount of salt inside our blood, I don't know how many people here know this, the amount of the salt content inside our blood is just equal to the amount of the salt content in the sea water. That kind of a salt thing we have. Salt means it is a kind of a catalyst for so many actions. Without salt, it is a waste. Interestingly, when this COVID-19 is directly affecting the lungs, I don't know how many people know here, the width of the lungs is as big as a tennis court. If we expand the lungs, it is as big as a tennis court. Imagine that. You can ask any heart surgeon, they will explain. Now, if we have that lungs, which is predominantly for the breathing, which is the basic life action of a human being, is width enough as a tennis court, we have huge potential of being a human a good, love, compassionate human. I don't know how many people know we have multiple heartbeats every second, every millisecond. One heartbeat pumps the blood inside our blood vessels, and the distance of blood vessels inside a human body, an average human body, is 96,000 kilometers. That is, one heartbeat pumps the blood to travel 96,000 kilometers. Imagine when we cross 96,000 kilometers of our vehicle, say car, we change the car. But here, every beat makes the blood pump across 96,000 kilometers of blood vessels, and we say, I am a human being, a living human being. Come on, being human, despite all the benevolence that the nature has given or the divine power has given, we need to practice at least at a basic level to see that we remain human. With that, I will just try to expose here. Dear fellow listeners, let us try to change our dimension in living this human life with love and compassion in every step ahead. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you, PNP Harish, for that insightful session, how to being a human. Since our JCI World President is already here, we will be having some time constraint to excuse the Q&A question session to 2 or 3 important questions only. I request PNP Harish also to be little bit considerate about the time for the answering part also. I'm sorry. Sir, will you please stop sharing your screen, sir? Yeah, it is done. Thank you. Sir, there is a question. My ego does not allow me to be diplomatic. How can I improve this?
Change your ego.
Simple step. Another question, does being human means being perfect? Is perfection possible to any human being?
Not necessary. Human being is always an evolving race.
Right. There is a question maybe connected to you were talking, so referring anything from Upanishads, and maybe, shall we believe in the power of Nara Drishti? The person made a human bad eye. Shall we believe in the power of human bad eye?
There's no thing called bad eye, actually. The eye which can be used good, that's all. Bad is again a relative term, that's all.
Yes. How can we identify a person who is purely genuine from a hypocrite?
Well, that the steps were been listed out there.
Good.
Let us go back to that step.
Yeah.
If it is exposed there, I think the best way is to expose them.
Okay. One question, sir. What is the first step of emotions control? First step to control our emotions.
Understand your emotions.
Good. You are very sharp in your answer. I'm happy. And final question. We say that 5 senses are the windows to our brain to develop our intellect. If not, which is the receiving organ that helps to receive and develop our intellect?
In fact, it's the other way around. The intellect drives the 5 senses.
Thank you. Once again, there are a few questions more, but since it is 5:22, thank you, PNP Harish Kumar, for the very crisp and very intelligent answers you gave also. Thank you very much for giving the reply. So as we told, PNP Harish also has shown his WhatsApp number and his contact or email ID. It's such a very deep subject. You can definitely contact him. He will definitely help the members to get your queries answered. So thank you very much. Now we are going to a small formal valedictory ceremony. I just stand myself corrected in a small way because I made a small mistake that I believe PNP Santosh Kumar was the first pilot faculty for JC India author that I made a small miscommunication. I'm sorry, Santosh, for that. Now I invite the National Director Training, Phil Fexley Patron, JC Siddiq, to take over and welcome the gathering for the closing formality or the valedictory ceremony of JCA India Webinar Series 2020. Siddiq, please take over.
Thank you, Vamanji. Most beloved National President of JCI India, the man who behind the webinar series, lovely National President of JCI India, Senator Anish C. Matthew, the most respectful JCI President, our today's guest, Itai Maniere, and the leader of leaders, the family head of JCI India, past National President Vallabh Das Ji, the international face of JCI India, the Administrative Committee Chairman, past National President Advocate Ravi Shankar Ji, the moderator of this webinar series, past National President and Skill Development Committee Chairman, our own Vaman Ji, the Secretary General of JCI India, Benedict, technical consultant of this webinar series, Tagesh Nair, my dear past National President, past Executive Vice President, past Zone President, and today's speaker, past National President Ari Sir, and all my dear panelists and my dear participant. It is great pleasure and privilege for me being as a National Director Training. In the lockdown time, we had conducted 18 sessions of webinar series as per the guidance of our National President Anish C. Matthew Sir. It is our great privilege. JCI President is with us for this closing formality. On behalf of JCI India, on behalf of JCI National Governing Board, and entire participant and panelists, let me welcome the most beloved National President of JCI India, Anish C. Matthew Sir. Let me welcome, on behalf of entire JCI and NGB, let me welcome our JCI President Itai Maniere for this closing function. Let me welcome past National President Vallabh Das Ji. Let me welcome Ravi Shankar Ji, Vaman Ji, and entire panelists, entire participants, Secretary General, Technical Consultant, and all of you, welcome you all. I request the National President to handle the rest of the function. Thank you.
Thank you, National Director Training Siddiq. Our leader, JCA President Itai Maniere, JC Itai Maniere. Our family head, Vallabh Ji, and the Administrative Committee Chairman and the leader of JC India, and also the family member of JCI, our own Ravi Shankar Sir. Skill Development Committee Chairman, past National President Vaman Kumar. Immediate past National President Shirish Dundu Sir. National Director Training, Secretary General, all the panelists and my dear members of JCA India. What a series is going to end. When this lockdown period is announced, we all expect a darkness, a state of idleness was what was we accepted. But after that, some idea has lightened. The members of ours and the Ravis are also, everyone enlightened the small idea of having a get together in a meeting in a larger way. We came into the platform of Zoom. We first think of a 500 members, then we go for 1,000. Then after 1,000 has reached, then we again going to stream in the YouTube and Facebook. So such a way the fame has gone around, and I'm sure one or two addresses I have already mentioned. I've seen an advertisement of a hospital. If you are mentally challenged after this COVID period, you contact a hospital number. But I'm sure that JC members is not in need of that situation. We are ready to bounce back after the lockdown period. So I'm very happy, as what our Himadri Singha session says, here comes the bang. The bang our leader, the JCI leader, Itai Maniere has with us. What a privilege for us, to all the members and all the panelists and all the viewers of Facebook and YouTube. For the JC India members, it's a privilege moment for me also. Thank you, sir, for accepting this invitation. And it was a very, actually, I don't have any words to express because you were there from the beginning of our training. We never expected it. We all expected at a time of 5:15, but that shows your humility, you are generous, and be with the function from the very start to the end. So that during our Japan days also, I still remember we stayed in the same hotel, and how humble a man you become, and you are the correct person to become the leader of 2020 by the logo Bridging the Gap. We are all clearly bridging our gap itself, sir. from one end to another. We are clearly bridging. We all bridge together into the platform of an air mode to keep us, to inspire the members to bounce back after the COVID period. So very much thankful for all the panelists who make this 18 panelists. It is consisting of 8 past national presidents, 3 past TVPs, past ZPs, and national trainers who enlightened. I don't think in the history of JC India, this much experienced and ace trainers, one of top rated trainers came together in a single platform and performed for our members with any cost, with free, with the heart itself. So it's also a very thankful all the 18 trainers who have been the panelists. Thank you for, and all the very best from the part of JC India and from my side also. Also, the program makes a success only because of our members. Thank you so much, my dear members, long persons, and everyone who make this period. And still, we all know that our business webinar is still continuing up to 14. Then after we will decide what the government is planning like that. So once again, it was a great privilege for me to address before you in the presence of my leader, JCI President Itaya Maniere. Thank you so much. So now I welcome our international figure and our leader, JCA family member, Ravi Shankar sir, to address us.
Good evening, National President, respected World President, very distinguished panelists, past presidents, our leader KV Vallabhji, and all the delegates, all the participants who are viewing this session in this platform as well as in the Facebook platform. I say once again, good evening to all of you. Friends, in the whole world, millions of people are worried about their future. There are hundreds and thousands of leaders are worrying about their own future as well as worrying about their communities. The local leaders are thinking about their local communities, how to protect them, how to get them back to their business, how to make all the bad things which happened in this year to good once this challenge comes to an end. Here there is an example of a leader, our own national president and the national governing board who have taken the charge of this situation to create opportunities for the members to learn something in difficult times. Friends, it is not so easy to think about others at this point of time when our own lives and living is under question. That is where JCI leaders prove that they are not local leaders. National leaders also think about their nation, but we think about the humanity. Now, friends, in this last about 10 days, you have attended 18 programs. You see the leadership of these trainers. These trainers have prepared themselves to come and prepare you for a better tomorrow. When they were doing their own work, they were not confining themselves there. They came forward to share their experience, share their knowledge, to prepare each one of you to build a better world tomorrow. Now, friends, President is here to speak to all of you, to share his thoughts with all of you. Now, I end with saying that each one of you will come back from this challenge with a thumping success, and all of us will rebuild a wonderful JCI and a greater world tomorrow. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ravi sir. This is the reason why I have made you compared with the meaning of word Ravi. It is moon that gives light in darkness during my acceptance speech of a national person. You are there, you enlighten us for all the days. Thank you so much, sir. Now I request our family head, Vallabhji, and internationally known as KV, to address us, sir. Vallabhji.
National President. Sir, I think his net has been disconnected. I'm trying to get him back.
Okay, no worries. So now it is the right time to hear the person the idea, the concept behind the bridging the gap. So let me invite our world president, our own Itaya
Vall-
Maniare to address.
Vallabhji is online now.
No, sir, we cannot see him.
I can see.
Vallabhji, can you hear us?
Anishji, Vallabh sir is.
Yeah, he has come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
President, can you excuse us for a moment? Just continue with the case. Thank you so much, sir. Vallabhji, can you hear us? Please enlighten with your word of wisdom, our family head.
Before that, I just like to make sure whether you are able to hear me.
Yes, sir.
We can hear.
Okay. So, respected National President Anish, revered World President, and the entire team of the faculty who had rendered human service by engaging the participants in this training program for the last since April 1. We had been taken to a long journey in understanding human nature through the various inputs that had been prepared and delivered to us by the faculty team. I must compliment all of them for the very high standard of performance and the training skill. And I'm sure that the participants would have definitely got some very useful advantage by listening to them and utilizing this time in a very fruitful way. It is indeed a matter of great honor for us that JCI President has joined us here in this particular program. On behalf of everyone who is senior in age, I would like to extend my personal welcome to him. And because officially the National President has already done that job. And I'm sure that JCI President also would have been able to appreciate the efforts that had been taken. We had been taken to a very long journey through the various aspects of the human life. And I'm sure that every input was very useful and thought-provoking session. And thank you, Anish, for organizing this and the entire team, particularly the people who are behind the organizing the entire show. I would not like to mention them individually because it would be invidious. I must say that the entire of this webinar group appreciation and one well done, good job, and very happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Vallabhji, for enlightening us. Next, we would like to hear from our president, JC Itaya Maniare. Sir, please.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone who's connecting to us from India. Thank you very much for making this possible for me to connect with you today. Thanks to technology, thanks to Zoom. I've got a few acknowledgements to make. Just for starters, to acknowledge our trainer and facilitator for today, Senator Harish Kumar. Thank you very much for that inspiring session on how we can be human, especially even in times of crisis like this. How can we be human and be ones that can be above the situation at any given point in time? Thank you very much for that, and being of service to JCI India, for continuing being of service to JCI, and also in your community. I see that you're also part of Rotary International. Thank you very much for your service to humanity.
You're welcome.
Sure. My dear National President, National President Anish Matthew, thank you very much for thinking outside of the box, for thinking of possibilities, for seeing what can be done in the times of crisis, making sure that we don't sit back and think that in the midst of a lockdown, because of the crisis that we find ourselves in, we don't sit back on our laurels, but no, we utilize technology to make sure that we continue empowering young people in India and beyond to make sure that even post this crisis, they can even come out victorious and share experiences. I'm very excited on this initiative that you came up with. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Senator KV, thank you very much for always being committed to the movement for so many years that you've been of service to JCI. I thank you very much. I thank you very much for also being a part of these sessions. I believe that everyone is motivated to have you around. My dear advisor, who reached out to me a few days ago and said, Mr. President, this is what we're doing in India and would like for you to be a part of our session. Thank you very much, Advisor Ravi, for making it possible and inviting me to this session. I'm very excited to connect with members in JCI India and beyond at this point in time. The National Training Director, JC Siddiq, thank you very much for the hard work that you've done. And I believe that after all this is said and done, you can have a good story to tell that in the midst of crisis, we made things happen, even when probably we could not have met and conducted sessions in a physical space. Thank you very much for everyone for working on the background and making it possible. Our convener, JC Vamankumar, thank you very much for the amazing work that you're doing. Thank you very much to all the members that are connected to us across the world. It goes without saying, my dear friends and members across the world, that we find ourselves operating in very unprecedented times where we find ourselves locked in and not able to do what we have always found ourselves to be able to do. But because of a crisis, we find ourselves locked up from free movement, locked up from physical interaction, locked up from even travel. Businesses have been affected, livelihoods have been affected, and it goes without saying. But a question also comes up and says, what do we do as young active citizens in the midst of such crisis? Where shall we find ourselves being relevant in such crisis? And I come back to you and I tell you that we have never been ones that have been made to thrive in places where we are in our comfort zone. We have always been active citizens wherever we are. And as active citizens, we are out to be able to find solutions in the midst of crisis. We are found exercising our minds, getting into the right conversations to make sure that we always find solutions and find ourselves moving out of them, not dejected, not beaten down, but being ones that feel that we can be victorious. As young active citizens, I call upon each and everyone that's connected here today to say, you might feel that you are in a space where your comfort zone has been affected, but I've never been one to believe that champions are made in spaces of comfort, but where our mental faculties are challenged, where certain comfort, our comfort zone has been challenged and we feel stretched, only then can we find ourselves getting the best out of our capacities. I believe that as young people, as we continue to connect, thanks to utilizing technology, as we break the geographical borders that we've always had, where probably we could have sessions for only those that can physically be there, but now even opening it up to the rest of the world, having an access of close to 700 participants and so many others connected on YouTube and on Facebook. That is amazing. That is something that we have not probably would have imagined in the wildest of our dreams to be possible. But even in the times of crisis like this, we have been ones to see what is possible because we now have a crisis. We have found ourselves being stretched. We've found ourselves being ones to innovate. We've been ones to think creatively. And let not this current crisis be one that can hit us down, but one that can help us even be ones that can step forward into the future. As we have utilized technology, as my president's theme is, and my theme this year is to bridge the gap, to bridge the technology gap, to bridge the physical gap that has always been one to limit us. I was in a session yesterday where I was connecting with members from, it was organized by African Middle East, but we found members from across the world connecting and being a part of that particular session. It was a 2-hour session. And I just say to myself, would this have been possible if we wanted to utilize our traditional ways of connecting, which is where officers keep traveling from country to country and do that in the space of 2 hours? I saw so many friends of mine connect onto the session. And I say to myself, probably the only other opportunity that I'd have found for us to connect would be probably in an area conference, in a world congress. But because of technology, we have been able to connect. And the possibilities are just unimaginable. So I applaud JCI India for taking the lead by having these sessions that you run continuously over the past more than 10 days. I applaud you for this initiative. I applaud you for taking the lead. I believe that this is not one that is going to end now, but something that you're still going to carry into the future, because you've been able to break ground and to show the world what is possible. I can only be excited for what you have done, and I am fully behind you on this initiative and by showing the rest of the world what is possible. I ask you at this point in time to be of good courage, be strong, and be the young active citizens that we are, that are out to impact our community wherever we are. Let us be ones that are cognizant of the challenges around us. Even when we are in lockdown, does not mean that we fold our hands, but we pick up the phone, call a community leader and say, how can our local organization be more for our community? How can we be the ones that can provide perhaps protective gear to those that need it? How can we be ones that can be able to provide a meal to those that do not have it? This is the time when our light needs to shine, because we are supposed to be the positive change agents in our community. That light of hope, that beacon that shows life, that beacon that shows that there is a possible tomorrow. And it is not one that can come by us sitting back and folding our hands, but one where we step out and be those change agents that we want to be. I wish JCI India all the best. I wish all the young active citizens that are connected to us today to say, indeed, I believe that beyond this, we will come out victorious. Let us be the ones that put what we've been developed to be over time, to put it into action and showcase to the world what young people, when they put their minds to it and put their faculties into it and they put their resources into it and connect business, civil society, and government to find solutions in the midst of crisis, we showcase what we're capable of doing. I've got no speck of doubt that JCI India can do it. I've got no speck of doubt that all the other young people that are connected can do it. Let us look back after this is all said and done to say, I played my part in order for us to make sure that we come out of this crisis victorious. I thank JCI India for this opportunity to talk to you, to connect to you today. I thoroughly enjoyed this session. Please do not leave me out on the next sessions that you're going to be doing. I will connect, God willing, and time willing. I will make myself available to connect and even just be one of the spectators and just take in the knowledge and appreciate the skills that JCI India has been able to put together over so many years of history. I thank you very much and keep opening up your doors to so many other young people across the world to be able to learn from the experiences of JCI India. With that, I thank you and I wish you a very good evening.
Thank you, JCA President, for enlightening us with the word of wisdom and the words what you are saying is just honoring your words. India is having a lot of people who was working with daily breads. With the lockdown situation was announced all on a sudden. So JCA India, apart from these trainings, many of the LOMs are doing social kitchens to give foods to the needy people, the poor people, to the org officers, those who are conducting this lockdown process, everything. So JCA India is supporting that way. Blood donation, now it's the time of blood shortage and blood donation is also going parallel on this way. And we are with you, sir, to bridge the gap. Thank you so much for enlightening us. Next, I would like to invite our Skill Development Committee Chairman who has taken this initiative. When I enlightened about this project and program, he voluntarily took everything and he took coordinate all the trainers. He didn't give me any single piece of headache to coordinate all this training, this eminent 18 trainers and put this into the visualized form. What was in my heart, he visualized me in front. Thank you, Vamanji. And please, I'm inviting our Skill Development Committee Chairman, past National President Vaman Kumar, to propose the word of thanks.
Thank you, Mr. National President. I know we are at the fag end of this long journey of the last 10 days. On behalf of JCA India and the National Governing Board and the Skill Development Committee of JCA India, I place on record our surging sense of gratitude to the JCA president, JCA member Itai Manere for sparing almost 2 hours of your time and being a part of this entire exercise and really motivating us, really inspiring us. What a fantastic end we had. So thank you, Mr. President, for your noble presence and the nice words of encouragement. I thank our national president, the architect of this whole concept, the family head of JCA India, Senator Vallabhji, and the administrative committee chairman and the advisor to JCI family, Senator Ravi Shankar, the national director Siddiq, a very hardworking young officer, and the secretary general who has been doing a lot of work behind the screen, Mr. Benedict, and the NHQ staff and all the people. I just want to mention the names of the panelists. We started on April 1st with a program by past National President Subramaniam on the topic, My Choice, My Life. That day we had only one session in the morning. Second day also we had only one session by past Executive Vice President Raman Nayyar on the topic, Lockdown, the entrepreneurial advantage, primarily focusing how can we make advantage out of the situation in our business. Third day onwards, we had two sessions, one in the morning, 11:30 to 1, and one in the afternoon, 4 to 5:30. Third day, past National President KV Regnam and past National President Rajesh Chandak, they Regnam sir handled the topic, making things happen, and Rajesh Chandak handled the topic, certainty of uncertainty. And we moved on to day 4, a very senior past National President Ramesh Bhattavia handled the topic, reinventing yourself in the morning. And in the afternoon, past zone president, a vibrant trainer, Mukesh Asha from Nagpur, he handled the topic man management. Fifth day, we had Nirmal Parekh, a very well-known corporate trainer from Zone 8, past zone president Nirmal Parekh, handling the topic power of positive thinking. That afternoon, we had Pramod Kumar, a past executive vice president, dealing the topic Be Beyond. And the 6th day, past national president and former chairman of the JCI Skill Development Committee, Junior Chamber International Skill Development Committee in 2016, Santosh Kumar handled the subject with tea bag leadership. And the afternoon, the one lady member of the whole panelists, in the entire panel, Nisha Chandak, handled the topic complementary angles. And the 7th day, we had Preetham Goswami, past zone president and past national director training, handling the topic, the bond of love in the morning. And the afternoon, we had Harish Kumar, another trainer from Kerala, dealing the topic, think right. Yesterday morning, it was my turn, the Skill Development Committee chairman. I handled the topic, power of giving in the morning, and the afternoon we had past zone president and past national director Himadri Zina from Vadodara in zone 18 handling the topic, here comes the band. Yesterday, the 9th day, we had Yogesh Chandak, the member of past JCA Skill Development Committee and past zone president and past national director training, handling the topic, thinking beyond. And in the afternoon, the national president of 1991, a very senior most past national president, Raja Govindsamy, handled the topic, ego holiday. Today is the 10th day of the webinar series. Morning, we had a session by past executive vice president Keshav Jain on the topic 1% formula. And we had the final program by past national president 2002 and past JCA treasurer Harish Kumar on being human. I have no words to express the thanks of JCA India to all these 18 panelists who the preparation started even 1 week before. Immediately when the lockdown was announced by the government of India, the national president called me and asked me to take up this responsibility. We started a WhatsApp group. We had a series and series of discussions, and we had Zoom meetings, many meetings, and we had thorough preparation for the program. I salute and I place on record the great thanks and gratitude to the entire panelists for making this work grand success. Without the participants, almost all days we had the houseful participants of 1,000 plus, and the panelists 23, and again the online viewers in FB as well as in YouTube. So I have to thank all the members, JCA India members. They're definitely friends. We definitely made it something big, and actually we all are happy. And as Mahatma Gandhi said, a person can find himself or herself truly only by serving others. So in the pursuit of service to others, only a person can find himself or herself truly. And the JC India and the leadership, Anish, Matthew, we were trying to find ourselves by helping our members. So thank you very much on behalf of JC India for actually supporting us, the participants. And I can find two past national presidents attending this program today. 1993 National President Dr. Praveen Nahar and 2011 National President Senator S. Bala Velayudham, two past national presidents, and the General Legal Counsel of JC India, Advocate Rakesh Sharma also I could find among the participants of the program. I thank all the NEC members, all the NGB National Governing Board members, all the zone presidents, all the LOM presidents, every one of you, each and every one of you for making this happening. And once again, thank you very much. Thank you, National President, for this wonderful opportunity. I remain. Thank you very much.
One word of appreciation for Rakesh Nair.
Yeah, Rakesh Nair, I'm sorry, the technical as a consultant, Rakesh Nair, the chairman of the president of JCA Calicut, who has been working, we were working only for one session a day. Maybe I was listening everything, but Rakesh Nair was actually there for all the two sessions and the evening session of the business seminar. Thank you, Rakesh Nair. Without your contribution and support, whenever there was a technical glitch, you were there just like a savior, just like a person who escaped us from all such problems. Thank you, Rakesh Nair, a wonderful president, long president, and a technocrat in the true sense. Thank you very much, President of JC Calicut and Senator Rakesh Nair, for your great support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vamanji, for the great word of thanks. So let's all leave from the meeting, but see you very soon in the very near platform in the nearby soon. Thank you so much, Professor. Rakesh, you can discontinue.